Kind of interesting that this article conveniently drops on the day that Unrivaled starts its season on True TV at 12 o'clock in the afternoon on a Monday. And let's be real, school went back in today across the country, pretty much. At least most of the schools I know here in Texas. It wasn't like people were still on Christmas break or are still on Christmas break. They just started the season. By the way, started the season on the NFL's Black Monday, where now 6 head coaches no longer have jobs and has completely taken over the sports news cycle. Sucked all the wind out of it. And trust me, I did a video the other day. There wasn't even...
On Monday, January 6th, 2025, while the NFL dominated headlines with the annual chaos of Black Monday and 6 head coaches being fired, another professional sports league quietly began what could end up being its final season. Unrivaled, the venture capital-backed 3-on-3 women's basketball league, opened its second season at noon on a Monday on True TV, at a time when schools were back in session and the NFL news cycle was swallowing all sports coverage, leaving the launch largely unnoticed. The concern deepened when Unrivaled president Alex Basil admitted in a front office sports report that the league may need the WNBA to survive, language that sounded less like optimism and more like a distress signal. The timing was unforgiving, as Unrivaled went live not only during peak NFL chaos but directly against WWE's heavily promoted one-year anniversary of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. Yet the clearest sign of trouble came from a move that spoke louder than any statement. The league publicly celebrated expanding its arena capacity by just 150 seats. When such a modest increase is framed as progress, it doesn't signal growth, it reveals crisis management unfolding in real time.
Any fire at all. And you didn't start this on TNT. I just can't imagine. I mean, why wouldn't you, if you have to, just do prime time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? By the way, they're going up against WWE tonight. 1-year anniversary of Raw on Netflix. It's going to be a huge show. That's who you're going up against? Along with the end.
But to understand how Unrivaled ended up in this position, you have to go back to the beginning. When the league launched, it did so with genuine momentum and serious financial muscle, securing a Series B investment that valued Unrivaled at a staggering $340 million. It attracted real WNBA talent and marketed itself as the premier off-season destination for elite women's basketball players. The pitch was clean and convincing: play 3-on-3 basketball in Miami, earn 6 figures in roughly 2 months, and stay game-ready during the WNBA off-season. On paper, the model made perfect sense. With Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, 2 of the biggest and most respected stars in women's basketball, co-founding the league, Unrivaled immediately gained credibility, star power, and media attention that most startup leagues never come close to achieving.
Help to stay afloat. That's on the table. They're in big trouble, folks. Year 2 tipped off Monday with 2 matinee games following an evening slate. It comes with a clear challenge: solidifying the startup 3-on-3 in an increasingly crowded women's basketball landscape.
So is a partnership with the WNBA Unrivaled's best, and possibly only, path forward? On opening day, Unrivaled president Alex Brazell made the urgency hard to miss. "I don't want to speak too much about what's happening behind the scenes," he said, "but I've made it very clear that we're open to the ecosystem." That wording was deliberate. Brazell went on to explain that when it comes to what a partnership could look like, nothing is on the table or off the table. And that phrase, "nothing is off the table," is the real message. Brazell has been unusually transparent about Unrivaled's efforts to align with the WNBA from the start. As far back as September, he told Front Office Sports that the league had approached the WNBA early and made it clear it was open to a formal partnership. The WNBA said no.
Is partnering with the WNBA its best bet? ? Quote, "I don't want to speak too much of what's going on behind the scenes, but I've made it very clear we're open to the ecosystem." I'm sure you are. Unrivaled president Alex Brazell said Monday, on the day the league's open, Quote, which way that looks like, for us, there's nothing that's on the table or off the table. Nothing that's off the table is the key takeaway there. Brazil has been open about Unrivaled's efforts to work with the WNBA from the onset. In September, he told Front Office Sports that Unrivaled went to the WNBA early and was open to a formal partnership. The WNBA.
Except there was a problem that became clear almost immediately. The players want to play real basketball, 5-on-5, not 3-on-3 or a modified version of the game. And the biggest star in women's basketball made that reality obvious without ever mentioning Unrivaled by name. Caitlin Clark, the player who single-handedly drove WNBA ratings to record highs in 2024, passed on the league entirely. She didn't just quietly decline either. Clark openly stated that her style of play doesn't translate to 3-on-3 basketball. When your entire business model depends on star power to attract viewers, and the biggest star in the sport won't participate, that isn't a marketing issue or a scheduling misstep, it's a fundamental, structural flaw in the product itself.
It's because of Project B, which is going to have this league in a damn bind. I mean, real fast. Quote, what you look at right now is there's a collaboration that's going on in NBA Europe. That was not a formal partnership before. As long as you can look at that space in an innovative lens, anything is doable, anything is possible. He's literally bringing up other examples of collaboration. By this time next year, Project B, the new traveling 5-on-5 league, plans to be up and running with a number of former and current Unrivaled players committed to play in the inaugural season, including Alyssa Thomas and Jewel Lloyd. Beyond that immediate threat, there's a longer-term one if the WNBA pursues exclusivity as a result of increased pay. Quote, they don't...
And it gets even worse, because Caitlin Clark isn't the only superstar who said no. Aya Wilson, a two-time MVP and the undisputed face of the Las Vegas Aces, isn't playing in Unrivaled. Neither is Angel Reese, whose rivalry with Clark fueled massive engagement and non-stop conversation all season. Sabrina Ionescu, one of the most marketable players in the entire WNBA, also passed. In fact, Unrivaled is entering its second season without 5 of the most recognizable faces in women's basketball. Let that sink in. Yes, the league reportedly generated $27 million in revenue during its inaugural season, which sounds impressive at first glance, until you remember it carries a $340 million valuation. That kind of gap between revenue and valuation only works if you're projecting explosive growth. But how do you justify those growth projections when the sport's biggest stars are opting out and choosing a competing league that hasn't even officially launched yet?
It's probably not coming in this CBA. But it does look like it's coming. That may be true, but there's a belief within WNBA circles that the league is still at least one collective bargaining agreement away from being able to offer salaries that warrant exclusivity. But for sustained success, Unrivaled needs to consider an increasingly crowded women's basketball ecosystem. Now, it goes on to talk about the great, and I do mean the GOAT, David Stern, coming out and talking about why the WNBA was created. It was created as a league opposite to the NBA, purposely, so people would have basketball to watch when the NBA wasn't playing. It goes on to talk about the fact that the Unrivaled's got all this new money. Well, it's just investment money. All right, Series B investment, valuing the league at $340 million. Following the inaugural season when the league banked more than $27 million in revenue, the league is trying to grow that number, selling more tickets in a small arena, increasing the capacity from...
Because here's the real threat that has Unrivaled's leadership quietly turning to the WNBA for help, Project B. It's a new 5-on-5 traveling league scheduled to launch around this time next year, and it has already secured commitments from current Unrivaled players, including Alyssa Thomas and Jewel Lloyd. These aren't fringe names, they're stars, actively competing in Unrivaled's second season while simultaneously committing to a rival league. That's not healthy competition, it's an exodus in progress. When your own players are publicly aligning with a league that doesn't even exist yet, you're no longer battling for market share, you're fighting for survival. And Project B offers what Unrivaled simply can't, the version of basketball players actually want to play. 5-on-5. Full court. The real game, not a modified format designed to fit smaller arenas and shorter schedules.
And there were, even in this little arena, there were empty seats. Very visible on the television screen. This league is in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. Breonna Stewart, co-founder, when talking about Project B, honestly, I don't know. Talking about, are they considered a competitor? Project B has a lot that's still in the works until they're on the ground running. No, that's no shade to them or anything. It's just different. We're playing 3-on-3 in one city. It's 5-on-5 all over the place. Yeah, but when you...
Now let's look closely at what Alex Basil actually said, because the language matters. Speaking to Front Office Sports, he admitted, "I don't want to speak too much about what's happening behind the scenes, but I've made it very clear we're open to the ecosystem. What that looks like for us. There's nothing on the table or off the table, nothing is off the table." That is not the language of a league negotiating from a position of strength. It's the language of a company struggling to stay afloat, reaching for any possible lifeline. And Basil didn't stop there. He pointed to NBA Europe as an example of collaboration that existed before a formal partnership, effectively referencing other leagues' survival playbooks as potential models. When you're talking about how others manage to survive instead of how you plan to dominate, the message is unmistakable. This isn't confidence, it's desperation.
And I'm sure there may, I guess, maybe there's going to be some basketball fans that are going to all come together to try to flood those two matinees. But I'm guessing the ratings for those two games are going to be sub 100,000 viewers. Is that a success? And I'm talking sub 100,000, maybe with the new methodology that's artificially pumping all these numbers up. This was code word, like business code word for Adam Silver. You got your ears on? We're in the quicksand and we're tossing you. I got a little rope here, or could you toss us a rope? Toss us a rope. We're going down. Is what it is. I mean, I think Project B is going to stomp this league right out of existence. And then we'll see. You know, you got to realize the NBA's working with NBA Europe. Okay, well, I mean, Project B is an overseas league, and there's a lot of reputable people involved in that league. You know? Again, Unrivaled, no Sophie, no Asia, no Sabrina, no Caitlin, and no Angel. And if you gave that league True Serum, I bet you they would have told you 6 months ago, well, we'll have Sabrina Ionescu and Angel Reese. No, you won't.
Here's what makes this situation especially compelling from a business perspective. Early in its development, Unrivaled approached the WNBA about a potential partnership, and the league declined, a perfectly rational decision. There was little reason for the WNBA to support a 3-on-3 product that would compete for players' time and energy during the off-season. But the landscape has changed. The WNBA is now negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement, and internal discussions have begun around future exclusivity clauses that could prevent players from competing in outside leagues during the off-season, something that does not exist in the current CBA, according to league sources. While the WNBA may still be at least one CBA cycle away from offering salaries that truly justify exclusivity, the direction is unmistakable. And that shift has left Unrivaled boxed in. Unrivaled can't compete with Project B on the core product, because 5-on-5 basketball will always be more attractive to elite players than 3-on-3. It can't secure the sport's biggest stars, many of whom are prioritizing rest or waiting to see which league presents the strongest long-term opportunity. And now it's staring at a future where off-season leagues could be restricted altogether by WNBA contracts. That leaves only one realistic path forward: integrating into the WNBA ecosystem, not as a rival, but as a feeder league, a developmental system, or a formally sanctioned off-season option. That's what "nothing is off the table" really means, accepting whatever arrangement keeps the league alive. The warning signs are already impossible to ignore. Unrivaled's Monday afternoon season opener revealed large sections